Yeah, bumped into my Chilean buddy who I was hanging out with in Bucan. Now he's selling his bamboo saxophones, which sounded just like saxophones. I don't know how he figured this out. I should have bought one, but I didn't have the money at the time. But and he was selling didgeridoos out of bamboo that they grow out there, and flutes and all this stuff just on the street. And so I hung out with him a couple of times at my apartment, and we went out one day, and at this point I had a job teaching at the IRS building. But he calls me up one day. I guess he's like really, he calls me up one day. He's like, oh, well, before, when I first met this kid who I was living with, he said that he had a friend, a female friend from England, who was like traveling around the world for 5 years, and she got around by selling jewelry that she made. And I've met other people like that, like my Colombian friends, so I bought a big old bag of weed off of La Paz. We're doing that. And I saw those guys again in Rio, and was hanging out with them for a couple of nights. That was cool. Small world. But, and then I actually met a German girl who was doing that. Just getting by selling like jewelry that she made. And she said she was in some Paraguay, and there are these certain, I guess, Mennonites, like the ones who live in Belize, but there's Mennonite ones in Paraguay who are white people, and they've been there a couple hundred years, but they originally come from Germany. And she was talking to them and couldn't understand a single thing they were saying. They said by then their German language was totally different. But anyways, he said he had this friend who was doing that, who would like travel around. I guess she was heading towards Santiago, and she was thinking about teaching English there, and like if it was okay if she would stay with us, then we would help her get started or something. And anyways, my friend who I met in Pucón calls me up one night, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I met this girl. She wants to teach English, and I know you teach English. Why don't you come and meet her, and maybe you can, help her out." And so I go down there and I see this girl, and she's like, "Yeah, do you know this kid from Montana, so and so?" And I'm like, "Oh no, yeah, that's my roommate." Small world. So we take the subway up there, and he comes back, and it's his friend. And but before that, actually, that's like right after I met my girlfriend. Because this kid, I guess when he first came down to Santiago, when we were still living at the hotel, we went out to the disco one night. What was it called? There's two disco areas. There's Bella Vista, and then there's, which we went to a lot in the beginning, but then there's the other one, which I can't remember, which is higher up. And we went out there, and I was really drunk, but I do notice like there's this girl like hitting on my friend, and then she comes back to the hotel with him, and her friend does too. And I was really drunk. I thought she was going to go back with me, but she ended up buying me a hamburger or a hot dog, and then she went home. Like she only lived like 4 blocks down. But anyways, and there were these Chileans who were like really jealous. Like some kid ran up and kicked my foot out from under me, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And his friend's like, "Oh, don't mind him. He's just drunk." But anyways, she is his girlfriend, and so she's hanging out with him, I think for like 2 months. How long are we living together? No, we're living together for like 1 or 2 months or something, a long time, like 2 months. And she's bringing these Chilean girls over. She was like dead set on finding me a girlfriend. So she brings one girl over, but she was just totally like into cocaine, just talked too much, just crazy. So then she brings this other girl, and she was just talking to her friend. And then we go out for some drinks with her other friend who had a Norwegian boyfriend. And then like a week later, he's like, oh yeah, she's going to bring that girl over. I'm like, that girl? With the Norwegian guy? Oh wow, she's hot. So I was like, cool. So then she comes over, she brings her over, and she was actually kind of like, she was grounded. She was like an actual person, not like just talking to her friend, She's like into me. So anyways, she invites herself to stay over there. And she's my girlfriend. Anyways, yeah, but I was only with her for like a week when this English girl moves in. And she's there for like 3 weeks or something. And I get her a job at an institute, which I didn't take the job there because it didn't pay enough. But it was good for her because she didn't have a bike at the time, and it was only like a block down. And she got a bunch of private classes. It's really easy to get any job teaching English if you're a girl, because most of the people who take classes are business people who are men, and so they always want to talk to the women. So she gets her jobs teaching English, and she's living with us. I had my own room though, because the first 2 months it was only a 1-room apartment on the corner. It was 1 room, a bathroom, a deck outside, and a really small living room connected to a really small kitchen that didn't even have a stove or anything. Like I had to cook with my camp stove. And so it's a tiny little place, but I was having my own room there because it was like we were going to be there 4 months, and he was going to have the bedroom for the first 2 months, and I was going to have the bedroom for the second 2 months. So I had moved in the bedroom, so they're living in the living room. But she's staying with us for free because I guess she doesn't have any money. But I tried to get them weed one night, and I asked them if they had, and they didn't. So I went out to get some, and I came back, and it turned out that they were smoking some. So then I was like, okay, so I just went and laid in bed, and I closed the door, but then they opened it, and I'm cold, and they kept closing it. So anyways, I got angry with them. It's kind of a mistake, because after that, they were kind of like really angry with me and not hanging out with me. And then he invites this English guy over. So then there's like 4 of us living in the same apartment, and he's there 2 weeks. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to invite my friend over. So my friend starts living with us. So now there's 5 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And by now my roommate's really pissed off at me because there were so many people living there, even though most of them were his friends. And then he starts to kind of go nuts because he's like, I guess he's on cocaine and only getting like 4 hours of sleep a night. He'd come back at like 10 o'clock at night every single night and then get up at 6 o'clock the next morning. I guess he was able to get off on that much sleep because he was on cocaine the whole time. But he's kind of starting to go nuts. And one night he invites his girlfriend over, who's friends with my girlfriend. Oh, but before that, this funny thing happened. I actually explained it in another video, I explained it in another video, so I won't explain it again. But yeah, he brings his girlfriend over, and he invites his girlfriend over. So his girlfriend comes over, and my girlfriend's there, and my friend's there. So there's the 4 of us. And he never shows up. And so he calls me, and I'm like, oh yeah, here she is. And then he talks to her for like a second, and then I have the phone. He's like, hey asshole, what the fuck are you doing? Giving the phone to her. I called you. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, how long are you going to be there? I'm like, dude, I live here. I'm going to be here all night. He's like, all right, bye. Anyways, I guess by then his girlfriend had gotten pissed off at him for like not ever showing up. So she